Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show, and I'm your host, Shea. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that's created by women and for women. And today, joining us on our WBTVN Expert Spotlight is a gal that is been doing her own coaching for a long time. So let me just tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll welcome her on to the show. So Laurie Fenske is currently managing Coaching Inc., and it's her own company, and she's been doing this since June 1 of 2016. So I want to welcome her to the show. Laurie, thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you, Shea, for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about just kind of growing up and where you are, because I know you're in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked a little bit prior to the show. I was born in Brantford and love Canada. I have brothers and sisters that are there, but they always want to come to LA, so I can understand why.
Yeah.
And but what I want to know is, what did you do, as a young girl growing up? Have you always been where you currently are right now, or have you moved around? And what really got you to where you are today?
That's a great great way to do the whole overview of my background. I was in Canada. I was born in Saskatchewan, and most Albertans are originally from Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Moved into southern Alberta and graduated there. My first jobs were in Calgary, and then moved up to the Edmonton, northern Alberta in mid-90s. When I first started working, I was in, typical kind of after-school jobs, administrative jobs, and worked my way through some different organizations. Then there was a time when I was invited into my dad's financial planning business, which I joined and worked with him for a while, came up to Edmonton, and then started my own sales career with different organizations here. It was probably about 10 or 15 years into my career that I decided I needed to have something different. So when I was sitting around the boardroom table, how was I standing out? And that's when I started looking for something different, something that would make me unique in those circles that I was running in at that time. That's how I came across the coaching opportunity, and worked on first the training and then the different credentials, and now hold my professional certified coach, which I've had for about 3 years now. I've had that designation.
Okay. And so what you do you work one-on-one with coaching? And what's the biggest topic under coaching that you seem to work with, with individuals? Because I also know that you talked about your financial planning. Is that, most of what you're doing? And also, your external sales opportunities that you've had, which helps us. Any kind of education or working for somebody else or doing whatever always helps us to be able to have a better idea about talking with other people and giving them a good direction. So how did you kind of like put that all together?
The coaching that I offer now, 3 areas that I really specialize in. So an executive coach, a leadership coach, so perhaps not a CEO or C-suite executive, but rather working with leaders, people leaders. And then I do team coaching as well. So I truly believe, some of the success that I've had in my past really affords me to be able to talk the same language as those individuals and really understand what they're saying when they're coming to me for their coaching sessions. So today, am I a practicing financial planner? No. Do I have financial planners in my client base? Absolutely. So some of the conversations that we have, when you talked about what's under the umbrella of coaching, it's whatever my client brings to the table in that moment. So it's really all about them making a difference and striving for more. I think historically coaching was that thing that somebody got when they weren't performing or when there was a problem. And now, excuse me, more and more coaching is recognized as people investing in themselves or organizations investing in their people and really supporting them to be all that they can be.
Right. I totally understand what you're saying, because I think that corporations on a general basis are wanting to bring as much education and self-help really to their employees as they possibly can. And so they do seek out, professional coaches that can help in specific areas that are going to be beneficial to that individual. What would you say is the most asked question when you're first sitting down with someone? Because I think that there's always, how do I get to that next level? How do I promote myself? What do I need to do different than I'm already doing? And I think that most employees want to be, they want to have the opportunity to be able to share their intelligence, their abilities, and their willingness to be, part of the team, but also to be able to stand out in some manner, some way. And so, what's that question that's always asked to you about how can I?
And I would say most often it's how can I get there, whatever there is for them. And sometimes they're not even sure what their goal is. So we spend a lot of time initially talking about what are they aspiring to and why are they aspiring to that. And I've seen some amazing coaching conversations, Shea, where people come with one agenda, and by the time we are done our initial conversation, they have a better understanding of what I can do to support them and be of service to them, but also a much clearer idea of what they want. And the type of coaching that I do is called solution focused. So it's powerful questions, really encouraging the client to dig deep and find the answers that will support them in what their goals and aspirations are. So I don't come to the table as a mentor. I don't come as a consultant. I purely come as in that coach position, and through powerful questions, get them to uncover what they're looking for. But in response to your question, I think the first question posed is really, what can I do different, or how can I get where I want to go?
So are most of the clients, Laurie, that you coach, are they women, or do you have both male and female?
I work with both male and female, but there seems to be a real gap in specifically financial services. And again, I'm not just pigeonholing that.
No.
But successful women in financial services have been drawn to me, I think, because of my past success. And it's a small world. And the success of one or two individuals really has opened up the eyes, and the referrals that I'm getting from that specific industry has been really, really amazing for me.
Well, most people that coach, which I've done a lot of it, and I'm certified also, one of the things that I think that's really important that we learn is that we're not there to tell them what to do.
Right.
We're not there to solve the problem for them, because they have to be on their own journey. And I loved when you said, Laurie, that you ask a lot of questions, because that's what you're taught to do. Because you can't really learn where they're at and what they really want. And they can't even express it to you unless they can hear themselves telling it to you. And it's like, oh, I've got to think about that. Let me think about what is it I really want, out of this? What am I seeking? What am I doing? So it's a lot about going inwardly within ourselves and asking the questions that have been asked to us to be able to, comment on. And I think that good coaches, as yourself, are people that ask those questions and help them to make their own choices and their own decisions. But I think more importantly for them to realize there are options. And there are different ways to get to where you want to go. And you just have to make that decision, because many times in coaching, they come up with the thing, this is really what I want to do, but maybe I'm not doing it for the right company. Or maybe I'm devaluing myself because I think I should be making X amount of money based upon, facts. What are people in those positions really making? And so you have to really, dig into that. Because I've had situations, and I'm sure that you have too, where somebody has, looked at that and said, I want to get ahead and I need guidance to be able to do that. But I really need to make sure that if this is the road that I'm going to go, I need to know what kind of income I can expect to make over the next 10 years. Or 10 years from now, or 5 years from now. So it's not just coaching and planning for just today. It's for tomorrow, even more importantly. And how do we get them on that safe track and have them focus on those things that are really going to, to help them? And it sounds to me that's kind of what kind of coaching that you do with, great value to them, because it's really helping somebody to really find out about who they are, not be that mentor. Because that's not what the role of coach really is. It's nice to have, like, you've got the financial side of it, the outside sales, end of it too, along with the coaching. So it really helps to bring some of those in and to be able to share some of your own journey and your own, challenges in life, because people don't want to think that, well, you've had it so easy, you can't possibly understand what I'm going through, which isn't the truth. I think that most people that become coaches and are good coaches are because of the choices that they've had to make and the challenges that they've had to face.
And also the more senior management roles that I held. So if I'm dealing with a client that is struggling in that arena and it's, feeling lost or overwhelmed or unheard, I have some experience there, but again, as you said, it's those questions that will really help them understand, is this the right arena for me? And the most powerful client sessions that I've had are when my client has that aha moment and it comes from absolutely nowhere. Like they don't see it coming at all. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, so this makes sense now. This is why this didn't line up, because maybe you're doing it at the wrong organization. Maybe you're doing it for the wrong purpose. What's your underlying motivator? And until you know all of that internally and invest on yourself internally, it's really a struggle to be an expert externally.
Yeah, it is. And I can remember a coaching situation that I had at one time where somebody extremely talented and really brought a lot to the table. But attitude was what was really holding her back more than anything else, because, she wanted to let everybody know how good she was. And they already did know that. But you can't push something down somebody's throat either. Sometimes it's kind of nice to lay back and let them give you your praise rather than you praising yourself, because then you're not looked upon as a team leader. And one of the things that holds you back from that is that promotion, because they don't want to make it worse than what it already is. They value what you have. The company values what you have and what you bring to the table, but they're almost frightened and fearful of putting you in a position where you would have more power, when in fact what they're looking for are team players and someone that is going to have the ability and the wisdom to be able to, complement someone else that brings something to the table. Because team means team. It doesn't mean you're doing it all on your own. And so, you have lots of challenges where those things are concerned. And sometimes people find it difficult to look at themselves like that, because the truth of the matter is, I honestly believe this, that they honestly don't see themselves in the same way that maybe somebody else does. And so I don't know if you do any taping or any, videotapes like that to help them, like, to, when you're talking to them, for them to really get their feedback on how they come across and how they're answering that question. Because somebody who is like that is pretty strong, a pretty strong person, lots of talent, lots of ability, but, women need to, in any situation, men, women, or whatever, and I think men do it so much better than women do, and that is they're going to support each other even if they don't really agree with their, what they're doing, where women are just going to be catty. And that's, and talk and not say the right things, where instead of giving a hand up and saying, I want to really be this person's friend because I think that person has a lot of talent. I think that I can learn a lot from that person, which that's really acknowledging that you probably can. And if you can turn those kinds of situations around, it's a win-win situation for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
So,
sorry?
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to comment. I do it. I call it team harmonization workshop, and that's where everyone does a behavioral survey. Okay. And then I do one-on-one coaching with each of the team members, and then we come into a room together, and everyone is really there to get better at being part of the team and ultimately make the organization better. And it's so evident when a leader comes into that meeting prepared to hear from their team and prepared, I wouldn't say to change instantly, but to reflect on how they're being perceived by their team.
Right. That's important.
Absolutely. And, and it's those leaders who come to the table and say, you know what, I haven't been doing this right. Let's work on making this change. Let's work on making this a stronger team. Mm-hmm. And the success just happens.
Exactly.
A team working in harmony like that,
right.
The success just comes to them. And it's magical.
It is magical. And I think that you just have to, one of the things I always say up front if I'm coaching or whatever is be open, be open-minded. It's not all about you, but it's about, how people perceive you. And how can we turn some of those, things around? Because you want to be able to embrace the other people that are coming to, the other teammates that are coming to the table. Absolutely. And not everybody's going to be everybody's, cup of tea. But we have to learn how to work together as a team, because that's what makes teams. And so I think if the expectations are actually set ahead of time, and reinforced during it, mm-hmm. they do make changes in their lives. They do see that, the team is the most important thing, not the least important thing.
And the power that the leader has in that environment, the power that the leader has to improve the harmony or the motivation or just the attitude, people coming to work. If you don't love where you're going every day, then you need to do some digging. You need to figure stuff out. And I believe it's, again, through these coaching or through some of the different tools that are available to coaches, that we can really support people in loving where they go every day.
Absolutely. Collaboration, and, nobody's in competition with you. Everybody's a great partner. Yeah. You just have to really, really believe in that, and it happens. So let me ask you, Laurie, what's your future? What's new coming up? What is it what do you aspire to do over the next, 5 to 10 years?
I work with a coach myself, and that's certainly part of our conversation. Specifically, where am I going to take my coaching practice is a really hot topic for me right now.
Okay.
Considering that when I started, just a few months ago, and what I thought it would end up looking like, I've had to be a little bit fluid with that idea. Yeah. My best days are when I can hang up from a client. Most of my work is done virtually, so in similar situation to what we're doing now, and I can hang up from them. And the last question I always ask my client is, was this of value to you? And when they get excited and are kind of done with the conversation because they've, made their action items and they're prepared to go and do them. So really for the next 10 years, if I could have those conversations every day of the week.
And just more of them, right?
and really just, I just love having those conversations with people. And I was fortunate, I have a really supportive network. Reaching out on my own, in my own practice, a big step, but I just couldn't balance being a manager on one hand and the coach on the other. And so I've just been, even in the last few months, so fortunate to have met the clients, have been introduced to clients. And I really believe that if I can continue making a difference, one person at a time,
exactly,
or a team of individuals working for an organization, that's
your goal. Well, there's no doubt in my mind that if you focus on it and want it, bad enough, that you'll make it happen. So we just need to turn that, that light bulb on and see it, visualize it, and work towards that. And I want to thank you so much, Laurie, for being a guest on WBTVN's Expert Spotlight show. And I want to thank the audience also, and just mention to them that if you go to WBTVN.tv and you're interested in doing an interview, you have a story to tell, whatever that happens to be, fill out the paperwork and we'll get back to you. So until the next time, again from me, Laurie, thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Shea.